My name is Taylor Higgins, and for my informative speech, I'm going to talk about terrorism in the United States. Hearing the word terrorism is very scary and worrisome for many people. September 2001 is a date that nobody will ever be able to forget, or the pain and the fear that comes with that. After that, everyone has looked at terrorism in a very different way. It is important for each and every one of us to understand terrorism and the way it affects us in our day-to-day life. Terrorism is very real and very scary, not just something that we hear or see on social media or in movies. People deal with it all over the world, not just in the United States. According to FBI, terrorism is defined in two different ways. We have international terrorism, which is perpetrated by individuals or groups that inspire or associate with designated foreign terrorist organizations or nations. International terrorism is state-sponsored. A couple of examples of international terrorism is the attack on the World Trade Center, 9/11, which was conspired by Osama bin Laden, and that is also the person responsible for the USS Cole bombing, killing 17 U.S. soldiers. There's also domestic terrorism, which is perpetrated by individuals or groups inspired by or associated with primarily U.S.-based movements. And those can be things of political, religious, social, racial, or environmental nature. Examples of those would be the Black Panthers, which is a black extremist organization using violence to overthrow the government. Another one would be white supremacists, which most of us know many things about this. The Ku Klux Klan, which the FBI has actually been investigating since 1918. Those are just a couple of examples of different types of terrorisms going on here in the United States. Most of the terrorism things we hear about are bigger, like 9/11 attack, the USS Cole bombing, things like that. We hear about things like the Crips, which is a gang that is considered domestic terrorism, and they also use violence. Murder is something that they use with no hesitation, not really ever any rhyme or reason, but it is something that happens all the time, day to day. It's kind of a smaller example that happens that doesn't exactly go national or big, that we hear about constantly, like big things such as the Trade Center. Since 2011, the United States has been actively working on preventing terrorism. The USA Patriot Act, which George Bush signed in 2001 after the World Trade Center attack, allows for law enforcement to use the many tools available to fight against terrorism and drug dealers, such as wiretaps and search warrants. Homeland Security was created to protect Americans from terrorist attacks, and that is their number one priority. An example of that would be TSA. The head of TSA says that if you are not okay being scanned or checked, that flying is a privilege and you are not welcome to fly if you're not okay with that. The debate of if the prevention of terrorism has gone too far or not is something that is a big debate all over. I think for somebody who has been affected by terrorism, or who's a part of a country like the US that has been affected by 9/11, and they see the effects of it, something as small as being checked or scanned to get onto a flight isn't too much. Yes, you have to go in an hour or so earlier. You have to stand in line. You have to be patted down. Your bags have to be scanned. Sometimes you'll take something you don't realize can't go on the plane and they have to take it away from you. I think in the moment those things become a very big deal. But I think when you look at the grand scheme, a couple extra hours, a pat down, a body scanner, I don't really think that those things have gone too far in preventing terrorist attacks and protecting everybody that is, especially in that example, flying, or that could be hurt by somebody flying, like the Trade Center attack. Homeland Security and the U.S. Patriot Act both improve the prevention of terrorist attacks, but unfortunately, terrorist attacks is something that is a reality for Americans. Removing all of these terrorist threats and attacks is not something that is an achievable goal at this time, and who knows that it ever will be an achievable goal. As scary as terrorist attacks are, we need to understand and know that they're real. Being aware of everything, being aware of what terrorism is, how it can happen, who it can happen to, being aware of your surroundings when you're somewhere, just like the Las Vegas shooting. There were so many prevention things on the news, on the social media networks, everywhere for people on how to be prepared or be ready to prevent or protect yourself if you were somewhere and something was to happen. I think just each and every person needs to be aware of that to protect themselves or their families or the people around them. Thank you.